Tam, him, Ajam, the unborn, Prapadye, I take shelter. Translation: Let me take shelter of the lotus feet of him whose incarnations, qualities, and activities are mysterious imitations of worldly affairs. One who invokes his transcendental names, even unconsciously at the time he quits this life, is certainly washed immediately of the sins of many, many births and attains him without fail. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. The activities of the incarnations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are a kind of imitation of the activities going on in the material world. He is just like an actor on a stage. An actor imitates the activities of a king on stage, although actually he is not the king. Similarly, when the Lord incarnates, he imitates parts with which he has nothing to do. In Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, text 14, it is said that the Lord has nothing to do with the activities in which he is supposedly engaged. Namam karmani limpanti, name karma palespriha. The Lord is omnipotent. Simply by his will, he can perform anything and everything. When the Lord appeared as Lord Krishna, he played the part of the son of Yashoda and Nanda, and he lifted the Govardhan hill. Although lifting a hill is not his concern, he can lift millions of Govardhan hills simply by his simple desire. He does not need to lift it with his hand, but he imitates the ordinary living entity by this lifting, and at the same time he exhibits his supernatural power. Thus his name is chanted as the lifter of Govardhan Hill, or Sri Govardhanadhari. Therefore, his acts in his incarnations and his partiality to the devotees are all imitations only, just like the stage makeup of an expert dramatical player. His acts in that capacity, however, are all omnipotent, and the remembrance of such activities of the incarnations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is as powerful as the Lord himself. Ajamil remembered the holy name of the Lord Narayan by merely calling the name of his son Narayan, and that gave him a complete opportunity to achieve the highest perfection of life. Yasyavatara guna karma vidambanani namani yesu vigame vivashagrinanti tenaika janma shamalam sahasaiva hitva samyantya pavritamritam tamajam prapadye. Let me take shelter of the lotus feet of him whose incarnations, qualities, and activities are mysterious imitations of worldly affairs. One who invokes his transcendental names, even unconsciously at the time he quits this life, is certainly washed immediately of the sins of many, many births and attains him without fail. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvashesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. This is also, I like this verse very much. I like Brahma's prayers in general. I like very much. He's our Lord Brahma. He's our Sampradaya head. And he's the original knower of the Vedas. He's the most expert Vedantist. Tene Brahma Hridaya Kavaye. Unto Lord Brahma, Krishna first of all, impart. And this is also these prayers. First of all, this is before there's even a creation. Krishna is instructing him in the Vedic knowledge within his heart. And so many pastimes with Lord Brahma. And even when he goofs or has a slip or makes a mistake, his restoration to his position of being a devotee of Krishna is itself so glorious and so instructive for us. So these prayers of Lord Brahma are very nice. Brahma Samhita and here in the Bhagavatam and other places in the Bhagavatam, these prayers of Lord Brahma are very nice. Here he's praying to Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, who is his source, his creator, his father, his guru, and he's offering these wonderful prayers for creative energy. Praying for creative energy means, just like we heard earlier in the Bhagavatam, how Narada Muni approached his father and praised him, saying, "Oh, you create the whole universe, and you're so powerful. It's you hold the entire universe, this entire creation within your hand, like a walnut in the palm of your hand. But I see that you're offering prayers and doing austerity and offering worship to someone else. So I have doubts about your position." So that's what this means, these prayers. He's the creator, but he's the subsequent creator. He's doing everything under the original creation and instruction and knowledge and inspiration of Krishna himself, or in this case of Garbhodakashayi Vishnu. Also very nice in the purport, Prabhupada talking about Krishna coming to this world. He's known as Giri Govardhanadhari, the lifter of Govardhan Hill, but he doesn't need to. He's already holding up the entire planet, on which Govardhan Hill is one hill. So what is it for him to lift up the hill? He could do it just by his will, but he comes here and he does this pastime and he lifts it, and just to make it even more amazing and ridiculous is not the word I'm looking for, but more like even more so, he lifts it with one hand. You think, oh, he's lifting something so heavy. Like if we're lifting something heavy, we have to use two hands. But no, he's lifting with one hand, and he's lifting with the one left hand, which is generally considered the weaker hand. So because he's already lifting the entire planet, but for his pastimes, he's imitating like someone lifting something that, oh, I'll come and I'll hold up Govardhan Hill and I'm Govardhanadhari, or like in Vrindavan, I'm Haridev holding up Govardhan Hill. So this is his amazing pastime. And here specifically, Lord Brahma is praying to Garbhodakashayi Vishnu and mentioning all of the avatars are like this. Earlier in this chapter, at the beginning of this chapter, Lord Brahma says, Ado grihitam avatara sataika bijam. Eka bijam. Ado grihitam. Now I accept you as avatara sataika bijam, that you are the one seed, bija, the seed, the source of all of the avatars, of all of the incarnations of Vishnu are coming through the channel or the expansion of this Garbhodakashayi Vishnu. And then Lord Brahma also says in his prayers in the Brahma Vimohan Lila, after he's bewildered, and then he surrenders to Krishna. And again, he says, Tiryakshu yada swapite janasya janmasa tam dormada nigrahaya prabho vidita sadanugrahaya cha. That, O Lord, O Supreme Creator and Master, you have no material birth. And also in today's verse, he's referred to as Ajam, one who has no birth. You have no material birth, yet to defeat the false pride of the faithless demons and show mercy to your saintly devotees, you take birth among the demigods, the sages, human beings, animals, and even the aquatics. And Prabhupada expands on this in the Krishna book. Here's a section from the Krishna book corresponding to that verse. Lord Brahma says, actually, you alone are everything, creator, maintainer, and annihilator. Similarly, you expand yourself in different incarnations. Among the demigods, you incarnate as Vamanadev. Among the great sages, you incarnate as Parashuram. Among the human beings, you appear as yourself, Lord Krishna, or as Lord Rama. Among the animals, you appear as the boar incarnation. And among the aquatics, you appear as the fish incarnation. And yet you have no appearance or disappearance. You are always eternal. Your appearance and disappearance are made possible by your inconceivable energy, just to give protection to the faithful devotees and to annihilate the faithful demons. So Krishna is also significant. In today's verse, he's praying to Garbhodakashayi Vishnu specifically, but in these Brahma Vimohan Lila prayers, he's praying directly to Krishna, who, as Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, is the seemingly immediate source of the avatars. But then Lord Brahma then understands that Lord Krishna himself is the source of all of the avatars, including Garbhodakashayi Vishnu and all of the Purusha avatars. But the idea is the same, that he's the source and he has no need. Namam Kamarni Limpanti. He has no work to perform. He has no duties to perform. But he comes and he does these amazing pastimes to set the world right, to enliven and to protect his devotees. And ultimately, as Prabhupada explains, for example, in teachings of Queen Kunti, that the ultimate reason he comes is simply for his own pleasure. He does these pastimes for so many purposes, but also for his own pleasure. He wants to fight. He wants to have a big fight with his devotees, like a friendly wrestling match. So he makes this big arrangement for Jayan Vijay to block the four Kumaras and fall down to the material world and take birth, and Krishna gets to fight them and wrestle with them. And it's a source of pleasure for Krishna and a source of pleasure for his devotees as well, ultimately. So all of these things are going on by Krishna's will and for the protection and enlivenment of his devotees. So these are all the avatars to whom Lord Brahma is referring today. And how do we know these avatars? How do we distinguish them? What do we know about them? Guna karma vidambanani namani. We know them by namani, the names of these different avatars. Like Prabhupada was mentioning in the section I read, there's Parashuram, there's Vamana, there's Lord Varaha, Krishna, Rama. By their names, we know them. And by their guna, by their qualities, we know them. And karma, by their activities, we know them. Just like the activities of Varaha, that he appears from the nostril of Lord Brahma, and he roots out the earth from the deep, dark waters of the Garbhodak Ocean and lifts it up just like a hog digging in the mud. These amazing guna, karma, and nama. And what are the nature of all of these? Vidambanani. This is a very interesting word, this vidambanani. Guna, karma, vidambanani, namani. In the word for word translation, Prabhupada says mysterious. And in the purport, in his explanation, he explains that this vidambanani means that Krishna is imitating like ordinary activities, just like, again, going back to Govardhan Leela, he's imitating like a person lifting a hill, but he's already lifting. He's not just this planet, but all of the universes, all of them are resting on the hoods of Ananta Shesh, and each universe is insignificant like a mustard seed. And all of them are already being supported by Ananta Shesh, who is himself just an expansion from Krishna. So he's already holding up Vidambanani, very mysterious and acting in a covered way, like an actor has a mask or makeup and behavior to become someone else. Just like Prabhupada says in the purport, an actor goes on and he's playing the part of a king or the part of this or the part of that. So this is Vidambanani. We know this word Damba, like in Bhagavad Gita, Dambo Darpa Bimanas Cha. Prabhupada translates as pride, damba, darpo, biman, abhiman. These three words are all very similar in meaning. They all mean like pride, false pride, but there's subtle differences of meaning also. And he explains that in the purport to that verse in the 16th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. He says, in this verse, the royal road to hell is described. The demoniac want to make a show of religion and advancement in spiritual science. That's one. Although they do not follow the principles. That's damba. That you're making a show of something, but you're actually not that thing. So that means it's a deception or a mask, or in another sense, or in another word, it's hypocrisy. So in that sense, damba means hypocrisy. You're putting on a show of something externally that you're not internally. They are always arrogant or proud in possessing some type of education or so much wealth. That's darpo, dumbo, darpo. They desire to be worshipped by others and demand respectability, although they do not command respect. And that's abhiman. So they're all different facets of pride. So damba means this falseness where you put yourself forward as something that you're not. So that's damba. And vidambanani comes from that same root, that there's a deception going on. There's a facade being put forward of a facade or an image of something that's covering something underneath. And Prabhupada says, like an actor. In that verse in Bhagavad Gita, it's in the negative sense of a person being a hypocrite. But vidambanani just means that there's some facade or some imitation or some acting going on. And Prabhupada says, just like an actor, the actor is like a king. And a very expert actor can go on the stage and not just by makeup, or wearing some mask that you can't see who it is, but the most expert actor can so much inhabit a role that you forget it's an actor and you think, oh, this is the king, or this is the lover or the beloved or the criminal or the hero or whatever, due to the very expert acting abilities of that character. And a bad actor or a lower class actor, and for those who follow Hollywood at all, will know that actors will often get typecast. That Arnold Schwarzenegger, he's always the big muscle-bound, hero who smashes the enemy. And it's always the same, and he can't play any other role. But Krishna is the best actor, the most expert actor, that he can play all of these different roles and inhabit them so perfectly and so expertly that it's reality. It's actually a facet of reality that Krishna is Varaha, and Varaha is real. This is where the imitation actually transforms from something false into actually something real. Krishna is Varaha. Krishna is Lord Ram. Krishna is Parashuram. And at the same time, he's Avatari, Krishna, the source of all of these incarnations. And he comes in all these different disguises, all these different ways. As a Devata, just like Vamanadev, he appears in the family of the demigods as Upendra, the younger brother of Lord Indra, as Parashuram, the family of the Brahmanas, the saints and sages, as an animal, as an aquatic. Just like what's that? When Hiranyaksha? Yeah, Hiranyaksha saw Lord Varaha. Oh, an amphibious beast. So that's his misunderstanding, that he's only seeing this very external and not understanding Yasyavatara, guna karma vidambanani namani, not understanding how Krishna accepts these different roles for the sake of his pastimes. And what to speak of the avatars, even Krishna himself, that avajananti mamudha manusim tanamashita. Ordinary people, even Krishna himself, they don't understand. They think, oh, here's an ordinary person, which is just like Hiranyaksha saying, oh, here's an ordinary hog or an ordinary aquatic beast. But the point is that throughout all of that, he's always Ishvara Paramakrishna, Satchidananda Vigraha, Anadir, Adir Govinda, Sarva Karana Karana. He's the original source and the original cause of everything. All of the avatars, the Purusha avatars, and all of the other Leela avatars and such that expand from the Purusha avatars, and all of the living entities and all of the material and spiritual energies. Vishnu Shakti Para Prokta Chechagyakya Tatak Para Avidya Karma Samyamya Chitir Shaktir Ishite. He's the cause of everything, and himself, he's Ishvara Parama, the controller, the Lord, the master of everything. Ekala Ishvara Krishna, not just the source and not just the Lord of everything, but Ekala Ishvara Krishna. He's the one original Lord and King and Master and source of everything. So, but through his expansions, through his energies, Ete Chamsa Kala Pumsam, Krishnas tu Bhagavan Swayam. Through his different expansions, all of these wonderful avatars are coming. And Lord Brahma is now understanding this and praying to the Lord in this way. Kunti also explains this actually more than once in the Kunti Stotra. She says, Nalakshase mood hadrisha, nato natya daro yata. That mood hadrisha, the fools, they see Krishna and they don't understand that nato natya daroyata, that Krishna appears in this world as Krishna himself and also in his different incarnations. Nata natyo daroyata. He takes on the role literally just like she's saying, just like an actor. That fools don't understand you, that you come in this world just like an actor playing these parts so perfectly that acting is actually reality. That's how perfect it is. Again, just like a good actor makes his role real. So Krishna makes it real in the absolute sense because he's Krishna, because he's the supreme personality of Godhead. And just like an actor, the most expert actor makes that role on the stage or on the screen real, yet at the same time, he retains his identity as the actor and has his life and has his existence. And Krishna is the same way. He's never typecast. He's never you can't see through his disguise, and his acting is so perfect that everyone becomes captivated by his acting. He's the most perfect actor in all of these. And again, also in Kuti Stotram, Janma Karma Chavishwatman, Ajasya Kartur Atmana, Tiryan Nishi Shuyadasu, Tad Atyanta Vidambanam. Again, this word Vidambanam, that she uses that same word also, Vidambanam, that you're unborn, but you come in all of these different pastimes, covered, Vidambanam, mysterious, and covered in these different pastimes. And again, a little reading, not too long, but a little bit from Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti's commentary on that verse, which explains it very nicely. He says, you manifest your attractive nature in various forms of animals, humans, and aquatics. This is atyanta vidambanam, extreme deception. Because atyanta, I'm interjecting here, we know anta means the end. So atyanta vidambana means the limit of deception. The end point of deception, the limit, the utmost deception. He goes on, since it appears that you lessen your stature by accepting inferior forms. When you accepted the boar incarnation, you sniffed out the earth. Though you are omniscient and omnipotent, you became a real boar. By seeing that form, the knowers of the truth will not laugh and say that you are simply a mortal animal, thinking that you are a jiva under the control of karma. Since you are actually without birth and material actions Your pastimes with birth and action, are they not actually true? This is incompatible with the fact that the pastimes were attractive to Atmaramas like Shukadev. In other words, I'm also interjecting again, uh, that if these are just a conditioned soul or false or useless, then why are liberated souls like Shukadev enamored of these wonderful pastimes? Atmaramas chamuneo nigrante apyarukrame. That even the Atmaramas, like the four Kumaras, like Shukadev Goswami, like Vyasadeva, like so many others, they're fully self-satisfied, but they're enamored of these incredible pastimes of the of Krishna the Avatari and of all of his different avatars, all of his different incarnations. However, he continues, however, from the statement of the Lord himself, Janma Karma Chame Divyam Evam Yoveti Tattvata, the Lord's birth and activities are factual, not a fiction. Tattvata. This is incompatible with the statement that the Lord has no birth and no activities. Thus, who can know the truth about the Lord possessing unlimited, inconceivable powers? So it's all contradictory in one sense, but it all makes sense in the unlimited Shakti of Krishna and the unlimited pastimes of Krishna. And this is the beauty of the philosophy that we're given, this Achinta Beta Beta Tattva, which is implicit in all of the Vedic knowledge, but was made explicit by Mahaprabhu and his chief disciples, the Goswamis of Vrindavan, explaining explicitly this idea of Achinta Beta Beta Tattva, that Yasyavatara, Guna, Karma, Vidambanani, Namani, all of these things, these are they're imitation, they're covered, so in one sense they're separate, but they're directly our Lord Krishna himself, simultaneously one and different. Therefore, on the appearance day of Lord Nrsimha, for example, we worship Lord Nrsimhadev. That doesn't mean we're worshiping something different than Krishna. We understand he's Krishna, right? Lord Nrsimha is Krishna. Lord Varaha is Krishna. Lord Rama is Krishna. He's coming in this amazing so-called separate or different or covered form, but that's also an aspect of Krishna's reality. I just read this recently in Bhagavat Sandarbha, Srila, what is it, Jiva, who wrote the Sandarbhas? Jiva Goswami, right? Wrote, gave the example that if there's very beautifully woven silk cloth like a tapestry, and it has many designs and many colors. And if you focus in and look at one part, you'll see one design or one color. Oh, this section is red. This section is blue. This section is green. This section has this image. And this is the avatars. The example is given. This is the avatars. But when you take in the beauty of the tapestry as a whole, which is composed of the different parts, and which is at the same time more than the sum of its parts, that as beautiful as the individual colors are, it becomes even more beautiful as part of the entire tapestry. And seeing that entire tapestry is understanding Bhagavan Avatari Krishna, who is the source of all of these incarnations. And they're so wonderful and so amazing and so tattvata, so much the absolute truth, that tyaktva deham punar janma naiti mamiti sorjana, that just by hearing them, chanting them, remembering, and ultimately understanding them, you're freed from the cycle of birth and death. Naiti mamiti sorjana, you don't have to come back again to this material world. So in conclusion, let's see. Let's look at today's verse itself again. Yasyavatara guna karma vidambanani namani yesu vigame vivashagrinanti tenaika janma samata sahasaya vihitva samyantya pavritamritam tam ajam prapadye. So let's start at the end. Tam ajam prapadye. You are unborn, Ajam, Aja. You have no material birth, you have no material source. But Tam Prapadye, I surrender unto you. I offer my obeisances to you. I offer my prayers for creative energy to you. We also have our creative energy. So Tam Ajam Prapadye, we can also offer prayers for our creative energy, for the things we need to do. Uh, and he's Ajam, and yet Yasyavatara. He comes in all the different avatars, all the different incarnations he's coming. Uh, and if at the time, and if one remembers them, if one engages in them, chants them, hears them, thinks of them, the guna, karma, nama, etc., of these avatars, and they're Vidambanani, they're so mysterious. So that means mysterious also means it's not a cheap thing to understand them. It takes long sadhana and long study and long surrender to understand Krishna and his different incarnations. But if one does, and if he does it vivasha grananti, if he accepts it with real faith, with real strength and real spontaneity to approach Krishna and his different avatars like that, then what happens? Asuvigame. Asuvigame means at the time of death, or literally asuvigame means when your breath goes away. So that's the time of death, sort of a poetic way of stating at the time of death. What happens? Te naika janma shamalam. Uh, Te aneka janma shama. Aneka janma. Eka janma means one birth. Aneka janma means many, many births, because we've all of us have had so many births, one after another, more than we can count, more than we can imagine. And shamalam. Shamalam means we've been accumulating sins, and we've been accumulating all sorts of misconceptions and sins and sinful tendencies. Some of them are we're bearing the fruit of in this life. Some of them are sins that we haven't yet received the fruit of, but they're just now coming. Abi arahe, just now coming. Uh, some of them are uh, sins that are existing within our heart. We may not even have performed yet, or we may even have not specific sins in the heart, but just a sinful tendency. Because after gazillions of lives, we have a tendency in our heart. We've developed the habit, the bad habit of sinning. So in this way, we're so covered from gross to subtle. We're so covered in sin. But if you can remember and worship Krishna and his avatars and understand them properly, the nama, guna, the karma of them, then uh, where is it? Shamalam sahasayava hitva, then all of those sins go away. All of that contamination goes away. As the first canto says, Krishna within our heart clears out all the contamination and purifies the heart of the honest devotee. Tenaika janma shamalam sahasayava hitva samyan yapavritamritam. Apavrita means the door is open wide. The door is open wide to what? To amritam. Amrita means literally or etymologically, amrita means amrita, no more death. No more death means elevation to the spiritual world, because everywhere except the spiritual world is the place of death. Even the Brahma Jyoti is a place of death in the sense of patantito najrita yusmarangraya, that even from there you fall down from that position, which is a kind of death. So, and amritam also means nectar. When you're speaking of amrita, we immediately think of like the amrita churned out of the milk ocean, for example. And that means that hearing and chanting and remembering, worshiping Krishna and all of his avatars and all of his wonderful qualities and pastimes. This is nectar. That means it's not an artificial austerity or a hardship to do this, but it's sweet, it's nectarian, like sugar candy. Prabhupada said about his books, for example, and it applies to all of the Vaishnava Shastras, that it's like a sugar doll. Anywhere you taste it, it's sweet. Um, so Samyantyapavritamritam, the door to this immortality and the door to drinking and imbibing this sweet nectar of Krishna's avatars and Krishna's activities and Krishna's qualities becomes open for us when we understand and tam ajam prapade, when we surrender to him. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. If there's any questions or comments, we can discuss now. Nothing? Questions, comments? Okay. Thank you very much,
Hare
everybody, for
Krishna
your
Prabhu,
very...
very nice class.
Oh,
I
Hare
like
Krishna,
that.
thank you.
Oh, I really liked the idea that when we do bhakti, it removes our
Yes,
sin. And I really like the conclusion also. It was really nice. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna Prabhu.
you're welcome. Hare Krishna. Yes, Drona Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Acharya Prabhu. Thank you for a really nice class. I really
Hare Krishna.
enjoyed how you explained the different avatars and in relation. It was very clear, your explanation of it. The point in the verse that speaks about, um, um, you know, if one invokes his transcendental names, even unconsciously, at the time he quits this life, he's certainly washed immediately of his sins of many, many births and attains him without a fail. I've spoken to people, even devotees, who really struggle with this, especially those that uh, you know really take their sadhana very seriously, and they feel that there's almost like this can't be true. Like there has to be some justice here, you know. Um,
It's
uh,
not fair.
like how could this possibly be that one would attain the mercy of the Supreme Lord and attain him, um, uh, whereas another would dedicate one's you know conscious life to
Yeah.
serving the Lord. um, uh, I just wanted to ask you about that and how you kind of see that. I don't know if it's an argument or just kind of statement about I guess the justice that is involved in attaining the Lord's mercy. It
Yeah,
even
right.
sounds funny saying that word, in relationship to it, but it seems like that's kind of a struggle. I think it's a real struggle for people to wrap their minds around.
Yeah, that's a great question, actually. I'm not sure I could give an absolutely definitive answer, but I do have a few things that may or may not help that because I've thought about this also. One thing is, first of all, is the reference in the early part. I don't have it at my fingertips, but the early part of Prabhupada's Nectar of Devotion, where he talks about these amazing things like, oh, you chant the holy name once, or you clap your hands, and you get this amazing benefit. And there, actually, Prabhupada says these things are true, and they're not at all exaggerations, but they may not be true in every single case. That they can be true in the right, person, the right situation, but may not be true in each and every single case. So that's one thing he says, that these are true statements, but maybe not, it doesn't mean in every single case it will absolutely, definitely be true. Another thing is Prabhupada gave the example in the purport today. He mentioned Ajamil. Let me see. Let me quickly call up the purport. Okay. And at the end of the purport, Ajamil remembered the holy name of the Lord, Narayan, by merely calling the name of his son Narayan. And that gave him a complete opportunity to achieve the highest perfection of life. So this is another way of looking at it. We know from the Ajamil story, he had a good background, Ajamil. He fell down into really the worst kind of sinful life. Uh, and he said the name Narayan one time, but he didn't chant the name of Narayan one time and then immediately go back to Godhead. Just like Prabhupada says, gave him a complete opportunity. He didn't die at the time. He took that opportunity. He left home, he went to Hardwar, I think, if I'm remembering correctly. And there he engaged the rest of his life in pure devotional service very intensely and very seriously. And then at the actual end of his life, then the Vishnu Dutas came and brought him to Vaikuntha. So this is another understanding, is that chanting um, at the time of death, even unconsciously, means that it gives you such an amazing opportunity that even if you don't at that very instant go back to Godhead, it will give you such an opportunity to engage in devotional service so that the next time when you chant Narayan, it won't be unconsciously, it will be consciously, and then you could get the full benefit. Just like Prabhupada also explains, or Krishna also explains in the going back to Govardhan Lila, when he's preaching to the Brijavasis about why they should explain this Indra Puja to him. Because remember, Krishna went to Nanda Maharaj and said, "Tell me about this," and he was ignored at first. But he said, "No, you should explain it to me." And he says that if one performs an action, even a good action or a recommended action, without full knowledge, he won't get the full benefit. He'll get partial benefit. But if one performs an action with full knowledge, then he will get the full benefit. So that's another aspect of it. And a third aspect is that devotional service and the holy name and any contact with Krishna is so, we can't imagine the power of this, that it's not impossible that even once chanting the holy name can actually in an instant purify you completely. That's also another possibility, that it actually can happen. So I think there's a spectrum of ways to understand this, and maybe some of those uh, ideas will help, give an idea of the spectrum and how they might apply in different persons, different Kaladesh Patra, how it'll apply to different persons and different circumstances and different situations. Because after all, we also understand that if someone's consciousness isn't pure, then what's the meaning of going back to Godhead? You're going to go to the spiritual world with an impure consciousness? That's not going to happen. And we also know that Krishna does not uh, run over a person's uh, free will and individuality and nature. So all of these things factored together make it's an absolute statement about the potency of the holy name, but how it applies to different persons, there may be a spectrum or a variety of ways. Does that make any sense or have any application to what you're thinking of?
Yeah, that was very nicely explained. It makes a lot of sense. Um, it kind of, as you were talking, it also made me, and another kind of instance when this kind of level of mercy is kind of spoken about. It says like when a pure devotee, is born into a family, like descendants to that family, you know, get delivered.
Right. Yeah. For
For
so
certain
many
like seven
generations.
generations back,
Yeah.
21 generations back, depending on their level of purity. And you kind of wonder sometimes, well, how is this
Yeah.
like? Okay, so when you explain opportunity, that that, that makes sense, but at the same time, leaving the door open to, that could actually, not understanding where they are in their devotional or their spiritual journey, how much purification they still need to go through, they may actually go back to Godhead.
Yeah.
It's not off the table either. Thank you for that.
Yeah, sure. That was a good question. Thank you very much. Anything else? Question or comment?
Yes, Prabhu.
Please
We
speak.
can
Yes.
see that Lord Brahma is offering prayers. He offers several prayers in Krishna book and Brahma Samhita and everything you were mentioning. I'm just wondering about the Brahma Samhita. When did Lord Brahma recited it to Lord Vishnu? Just after performing all the austerities, the penances?
I don't know that actually.
Okay.
I don't know at what point in his history or when or where Brahma Samhita was spoken. Maybe, I don't know if Vishnu Gada Prabhu has some information on that or anyone else knows, but I know nothing about that. I just know like these prayers, we know where they are, and the prayers in the 10th canto, 14th chapter, the prayers of Lord Brahma after the Brahma Vimohan Lila, we know when they are. When Brahma Samhita was spoken, I actually do not know. Although it contained one thing about those prayers, it did contain knowledge, not just of Garbhodaka Shai Vishnu, which is mainly the topic of these prayers, but also knowledge about Krishna himself. But other than that, I have I don't know anything about when they were spoken, when it was spoken. And there's supposed to be like 100 chapters of Brahma Samhita, but we only have this 1/5 chapter of Brahma Samhita. So if we had the whole thing, maybe we could understand more about its circumstances, but I don't know. I'm sorry.
Yeah, okay, so I was just wondering. Yeah, just
Yeah.
is it after performing, you know, penances? Is that the first, he started glorifying the Lord?
Right. Yeah, but those prayers, the Brahma Samhita prayers, are amazing. They're very elevated and directly to Krishna. Many of the verses they end like that. Govindam Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. So we can understand those are very elevated prayers, as all the prayers of Lord Brahma are, but the Brahma Samhita especially. Okay, thank you. Anything else? Question or comment?
Yeah, continuously, they're like Lord Brahma is reciting these prayers to Garbhodak Asai Vishnu. So, like same thing. You don't know when he started glorifying Krishna directly to Krishna, like Brahma Samhita.
Right. Yeah,
So that,
and Lord Brahma, he's had so many dealings with Vishnu and also dealings with Krishna at different times. Like when he went to visit Krishna in Dwarka, that also another interaction. So, and that's one of the reasons why Lord Brahma, we're so fortunate to be in his sampradaya, the Brahma sampradaya coming from him. That, like I said, even his mistakes, and God knows he's made plenty of mistakes, but his recovery from them and how it reveals to him even and through him to us even greater and more intimate knowledge of Krishna, that we should consider ourselves very fortunate indeed to be in this Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. Mahaprabhu chose, he could have chosen any Sampradaya. He chose to make his appearance within the Brahma Sampradaya. And then, of course, there's Madhvacharya. Just like, what is that in the Bhaktivinoda Thakur describes how Mahaprabhu, he took two principles from each of the four sampradayas. And from the Brahma Sampradaya, he took these two principles of, what is it? Kevaladvaita Nirashanam, a complete and utter defeat of Mayavadi doctrine. And I can't remember the Sanskrit, but the focus on worshiping the deity. He got these principles from the Brahma Madhva Sampradaya. So he chose that, and those things are so important. That's like the prerequisite is to eliminate Mayavadi philosophy. And Prabhupada himself, just like Mahaprabhu, he came for that. Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschata Deshatarine, right? He came to the West to defeat this Nirvishesha Shunyavadi. So Prabhupada also chose to appear in the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. Actually, I actually don't know much about this, but I've heard it said that in the Madhva Sampradaya, in even Madhvacharya himself, that they don't like commenting on the Brahma Vimohan Leela because it makes Brahma look bad. So they don't like to discuss. Has anyone heard that before? I've heard that said before. But we understand that even Brahma's mistakes are so educational for us. Yeah, very fortunate to be in this Sampradaya. Okay. Thank you very much, everybody, for your very kind attention. I hope everyone in Philadelphia is doing well and prospering materially and spiritually. I hope everyone has a wonderful day. Thank you very much. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha, sindhubhya eva cha, patitanam pavanebhyo,
Vaishnavebhyo namo namo. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Everyone have a wonderful day.